For your Saturday evoking of spiritual change through words and creative artistry, tune in now for the creative inspiration with Chantel. Kingdom Literary Works and Creative Inspirations with Chantel is proud to present For the Love of Us, an extraordinary 30-day series focused on strengthening your bonds of holy matrimony beginning June 1st through the 30th, 2018. According to Ecclesiastes 4:12, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. This daily series will offer inspirational nuggets of love and marriage through verbal and nonverbal means for both of you. It will shift your focus and priorities to balance respect, support, and love between the two of you as you discover or rediscover the us in your marriage. Gems of wisdom will be shared on communication, peace, understanding, fighting, affection, and so much more. Subscribe now and connect at www.kingdomliterarywworks.com/positive-energy-blog. And don't miss For the Love of Us.
VICTORY. We're gonna win the game, and you wanna know why? 'Cause we've got spirit. And we're riding high. So VICTORY. Woo-hoo! Now you tell me the cheer squad didn't miss out when they passed me by. That was a hoot. I may as well have been a cheerleader. Since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I've carried a well-lit torch for sports. I've continuously held that love near and dear to my heart. I mean, I've always had a great deal of respect for athletes. Now, let me be clear. Although I wasn't much of what some would deem a quality competitor, my admiration for those who were and those that approached and carried out their sport with consistency, passion, and enthusiasm was great and unwavering. As a young person, I'd sit on the couch for hours watching various sporting events on television, hoping that maybe one day I would be able to be a participant on some level. Now, did I tell you I was clearly daydreaming on that couch? But I digress. I came to the conclusion that it was time for me to face reality and finally accept that I would never personally be commended for my athletic aptitude or the lack thereof. Even with the settling of this truth, I'd figured that all wasn't totally lost. So I decided to pray that maybe God could grace the gift to my children instead. Well, I tell you what, didn't he do it? He heard and answered my petitions from all those years ago. All three of our wonderful children have been favored with and one of the last ones to leave. And make no mistake about it, it was my choice. I've always loved my kids very much, and Clarence and I have forever been our children's lead and cheerleaders. And I can assure you that that won't ever change as long as we have breath in our bodies. You know what? I can clearly remember when my daughter initially started running track. She was about 14 years old and it was her freshman year of high school. She had taken the opportunity to begin her training in preparation for tryouts right around the end of her 8th grade year and continued on up through the end of that summer. When I tell you she was disciplined, I wouldn't kid you none. With her systematic efforts, I had no doubt in my mind or my heart that she would make and do well on that track team. And you know what? I was spot on. She quickly became one of the standouts amongst the group. And she was admired by many that were following the evolution of her career as a star athlete. I can tell you one thing. I was one proud mama. The end of the season was quickly approaching, and I began observing a change in Simone during the last 3 or 4 meets. I'd noticed that she would become distracted, seemingly preoccupied by something less than halfway through a race. You could visibly see this distinct blankness residing on her face as she slowly began to lose her momentum. To be completely honest with you, from my viewpoint, it looked just like how I'd picture a car that was running out of gas. Quite a visual, right? Yeah, I thought so too. You know, the first time it happened, I didn't know what was going on. I thought that maybe she may have caught a leg cramp or she was starting to feel ill or something. I was panicking on the inside, but I couldn't let her see that. I had to keep my composure for her. And although I didn't have a clear understanding of what the real issue was, I knew she needed to hear my voice, loud and confident. So I yelled out, "You have to resume the race to finish it, sugar." And as if she had received a shot of B12 right into her bottom, she regained her momentum as if she never lost it, and she finished strong. Boy, I jumped up and cheered and hollered something fierce that day. I was super proud of her, to say the least. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having to repeat that quote for the next few meets until the season officially ended. I didn't want to make her feel uneasy or ashamed, but I sure was curious about what had changed. So finally, I sat her down to try and understand why all of a sudden she was seemingly spacing out and beginning to disconnect during the race. Well, it took her a moment to sort through her words, but when she spoke, she expressed to me that she had been focusing so hard on one thing that she lost focus of the main thing. Sounds awful familiar, doesn't it? Her words immediately penetrated my heart. She wasn't in that boat alone, that's for sure. 'Cause I too had experienced trouble with keeping the main thing a time or 10 in my life, and I was pretty sure that I hadn't had that experience for the last time. Even after my children grow up and became adults, I remained their trusted and chosen cheerer. I didn't miss not one beat with them. Through the boys going off to college, Through Simone establishing and changing careers multiple times, through Clarence Jr.'s sketchy dating scenes, and finally beautiful marriage, through the birth of my 5 amazing grandchildren, and through Anthony's difficult bouts with sickness, they always knew they could count on their mama to be there. And I wanted them to. I mean, it's what we do, right? We've been built for tough, if you will, for the circumstances and situations of others, right? Well, it's part of being a mama in my book. Without any doubt, I would go the greatest distance, the longest length, and the deepest depth for my children and for my husband. I'd do it then and I'd do it now. They have been gifted to me and I treasure each of them with my heart. I often find myself reminiscing about when Simone gave birth to our first granddaughter. My baby was having a baby, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I would go and stay over to her house during the week to help take care of the baby and to handle any chores around the house so she could get some rest. Having a baby has a tendency to take a lot out of you. On Friday nights, after her husband arrived home from work, I would go home to spend time with and take care of Clarence. I recall us lying in the bed at night, snuggling, and just thanking God for our beautiful family and the wonderful opportunity given to us to be grandparents. Our precious grandbaby have made a grand entrance into this world and just brought a new level of joy to all of us. Shortly after her birth, about 3 weeks or so into grandmamahood, I came home a bit fatigued. Actually, I was exhausted. I hadn't recalled doing anything out of the ordinary, but I felt extremely drained when I arrived home that Friday evening. I sat and talked to Clarence about half an hour or so before showering and heading to bed. I was thankful that he understood. When I awoke the next morning, it almost seemed that I had never been asleep. I mean, my eyelids were still heavy and my entire body was achy. And let me just tell you, I was not in the most pleasant mood either. Since I didn't have a set schedule for the day, I decided to just lay there in bed a little while longer. Clearly, I got nice and comfy all over again and ended up dozing back off until I heard Clarence come in. When I turned around towards him, he was heading my way with coffee and breakfast. In bed, mind you. What a beautiful surprise. I thought to myself, why, I must have been a really good girl to have received this wonderful treatment. Clarence sat and talked with me while I ate my breakfast and sipped my coffee. Just as I was finishing up, I caught Clarence glancing at me with a bit of concern on his face. Now, though we've been married for 50 years, I don't remember ever seeing that look before. When I asked him what was wrong, he stood up and started pacing. Well, that gesture just sure made me nervous. All of a sudden, my heart started racing extremely fast due to Clarence's unusual behavior. And rightfully so. The words that he uttered when he sat down next to me would change and impact my life forever. Against my will and better judgment, I had officially boarded the emotional roller coaster. I spent the next 2 weeks bouncing back and forth between shock and worry. I was disoriented in some moments. I was in denial for space and time. And in between times, I wept until my head pounded. I wasn't quite sure how to process things anymore. I didn't know what to say, what to think, or what to feel. The sensation of suffocation, the sensation of suffocation seemed so very real, almost tangible. What is happening? What am I going to do? What about Simone? Lord, what about Anthony and CJ? What is Clarence going to do now? I mean, it was like I was drowning in all of the questions swimming around in my mind. Then it was emptiness, numbness, fear. It was an awkward, motionless cycle that kept sweeping over me. I hadn't been able to pinpoint my mistake. Hadn't been able to narrow down what I'd done to deserve this, I'd been pretty faithful. I had made every attempt to raise my children in the Lord's way and training them up the way that they should go. I loved them through nurture and discipline the best I knowed how. I'm not saying I'd been perfect by any means, but I served Jesus and his people from and with my whole heart. And I loved him with every fiber of my being. I even loved him in that moment as I lay there in my bed with my hand on my chest, trying to wrap my mind around the fact that I had been diagnosed with cancer. The next few months were daunting, to say the least, as I went for second and third opinions and eventually embarked upon treatment for my newfound condition. I was still trying to figure out how I got to this place. I had always been an upbeat and outgoing person, one who had always been able to see and point out the good in any situation, no matter how dismal or complex. But not this go round. For the first time in my life, I was struggling and seemingly sinking. I felt like I was in the battle of and for my life, and I couldn't even lift my glove to swing at my opponent. I hadn't even started good, and already I was behaving like I was a defeated foe. I had started making what I referred to as life arrangements, getting my affairs in order just in case. I slipped into a very dark time that led to stints of anxiety attacks, which ultimately transitioned into clinical depression. This was certainly unfamiliar territory for me. My children and my grandchildren gave everything they had during this time. They even went so far as to establishing a rotating schedule to ensure that I saw one of their smiling faces every day. They cooked wonderful meals. They helped Clarence clean the house. They brought over my favorite desserts. Just so you know, I'm a sucker for a homemade carrot cake. They read to me. They prayed over me. They even sat in silence with me, if you can believe that I've ever been silent. It was quite a challenging time. In my heart, I truly wanted to show them my appreciation for everything they had done and were continuing to do. But it seemed that no matter what they attempted, I just couldn't shake the funk I was in. I just couldn't understand it. Of all people, why me? On Simone's next visit, she walked in real chipper like, drew all of the curtains, and opened up all of the windows in my room. She pulled back the covers on the bed and demanded that I get up. Well, to tell you the truth, the quick change in her disposition scared me, so I done just what she told me without hesitation. Only reason I didn't move speedily was 'cause I couldn't. But honey, I got moving just the same. She helped me up and out to the front porch where she had prepared a nice lunch for us. Once she sat me down and got me comfortable, she spoke her mind to me. She led with the fact that she couldn't bear another day of my moping and that she was shutting down my pity party. Told me she hadn't given up on me and that she wouldn't, and that there was no way that she would sit by and let me give up on myself. She reminded me that I've spent the better part of my life encouraging people, speaking life to and over people, cheering people on in all their endeavors, but that today was a new day, a day that she would step up and be that person for me. She said, "Mommy, you have to resume the race to finish it, sugar." Well, I'll tell you, my mouth hung open wide enough for a train to run through it. I couldn't believe she had remembered I said that to her all those years ago. Then she kissed me on my forehead as I often done her. And before heading inside, she said, "Just you wait, Mama. You're gonna finish strong." Well, clearly my baby wasn't a baby anymore. Not only had she put my shoes on and laced them up, she'd fancied both of them into a knot, honey. In other words, for you young folk, she got and set me straight. And she was right on point. I had placed so much focus on my sickness that I didn't have any vision for my healing, or better yet, for my healer. Isn't that the pattern of this old nature of ours? I have failed to keep the main thing the main thing. When something goes wrong, we give it our undivided attention. Although we know that God is capable of saving us, healing us, rescuing us, and delivering us, we make a choice to become consumed with the problem. Well, I'll tell you what, No more. I made a decision that not another day would that be my choice. Honey, I dropped that stinking thinking like a bad habit. And you know what else I did? I surrendered and I let Jesus in. I no longer attempted to be in control. I stopped trying to fix it and I relinquished my superwoman cape and I allowed the Father to take his rightful place in my life so that he could reign again. And would you guess what? Not only was it the right thing to do, it worked. I'm still here 23 years later. I'm still standing, still got my right mind. I'm walking in the newness of my joy. My relationship with God is stronger than ever. I've learned to place my confidence in the source and not a resource. And I am still running this race of mine with patient endurance. And I hope that you will too. I hope that even in the midst of your current situation, that you will find the strength to shift your dependence to the Father. I pray that you will allow his strength to be made perfect in your weakness. No matter how bad it looks, how heavy the weight is, or how trying the trial, I hope that your faith will arise and that you will not give up, nor will you give in. That you would simply pick right up where you left off. Honey, that you will muster up and activate the courage to resume the race so you can finish strong. If you don't remember anything else I've said today, know that the race has not been given to the swift. It has not been given to the strong, but it has been given to the one who endures. That's us, honeys. VICTORY. We're gonna win at life, and you wanna know why? We got the Holy Spirit, and we're riding high. So VICTORY.
Kingdom Literary Works and Creative Inspirations with Chantel is proud to present For the Love of Us, an extraordinary 30-day series focused on strengthening your bonds of holy matrimony beginning June 1st through the 30th, 2018. According to Ecclesiastes 4:12, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. This daily series will offer inspirational nuggets of love and marriage through verbal and nonverbal means for both of you. It will shift your focus and priorities to balance respect, support, and love between the two of you as you discover or rediscover the us in your marriage. Gems of wisdom will be shared on communication, peace, understanding, fighting, affection, and so much more. Subscribe now and connect at www.kingdomliterarywworks.com/positiveenergy-blog. And don't miss For the Love of Us. Thank you for tuning in to Creative Inspiration with Chantel. We pray you've been inspired and strengthened. And until next Saturday, be encouraged on the journey. You may contact Chantel at www.kingdomliteraryworks.com.